Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server. We're having a look at one of the most beautiful vehicles that has ever graced the game of War Thunder. This is a vehicle I'm going to call the Rafale because it's a much more fun name to say, so understand it's not the proper pronunciation, but it's just nicer. The Rafale CF3 is this one specifically, and it is a French multi-role, fighter jet which has come to the game. It's coming alongside the Eurofighters. Obviously, France was part of the Eurofighter project, but they decided to drop out when the funds were a little bit all over the place, and also the control was a bit all over the place, and ended up building this. And now this is one of the mainstays of the French Air Force. And that to me is really cool, if I'm honest. Having a look at the tech tree, you'll find it in the left-hand line, after the Mirage 2000-5F. So it's at the same BR as it right now. And once again, I have to say, just like I did with the Eurofighter, this vehicle is not finished. There is no way that this is the only armaments it's going to get access to, and it doesn't even have a modification for its gun. So just understand that, right? What you see here is not finished. This vehicle is not finished. It will go through several iterations before it is added to the game. So if you are worried about its flight performance, if you are worried about its secondary armaments, of course you should bug report it, you should get involved in it, but just remember, at the end of the day, it ain't finished. So with that said, let's have a look at some of its core values. It has access to the Tails RBE2 radar, which is a radar IRST, has a very good range. The search zone isn't huge compared to other vehicles, but with the way that air works, it should be fine. Has all of the stuff you would want, plus it's able to lock multiple targets at the same time, so the active radar homing component of this vehicle will be very good. The RWR is the Tails Spectra, which is a EJ band RWR, which works at 70 kilometers, and once again has all of the bells and whistles you'd want. It also has a Moore system and an LWR, and of course the HMS, the SPI, and others for the pilot too. The pilot looks incredibly cramped, and the cockpit itself is incredibly cramped, so don't be surprised when it looks like that. One of the cool things about the cockpit of the Rafale, though, is you actually have two sticks instead of a one in the middle, which is kind of surprising because most of the vehicles, you know, they just have the single one. So this vehicle has a interesting offensive armament right now. First of all, the 30mm, the Nexter 30M791 cannon, only 125 rounds, so not a ton to kind of write home about right now. The main things is obviously the secondaries. The engines are the Snecma M88-2s. They have a decent amount of afterburning thrust and also have a lot of acceleration behind it, meaning that this thing can be incredibly maneuverable, especially with the general design. So secondary armaments, let's have a look at that. Basically, what this vehicle has access to is a lot of stuff, and it is all right here. So starting off, we have the air-to-air. Now, this cannot be finished, okay? So just once again, bear with this vehicle. It has drop tanks for extra fuel, which is really nice, but it also has access to the MICA-MIIIIs, the MICA-EMs. These are the active radar homing MICA version. There are other versions of the MICA, such as the IR, but these ones are incredibly powerful in the game and will generally do very well. Right now, there isn't any IR-guided or semi-active radar homing-guided missiles that are for this thing in the game, but I'm sure that will change in time. I wonder what this thing is. I haven't actually seen that on other vehicles, so kind of cool to see that turn up. Then for ground ordnance, so right, once again, this is not finished, right? So there will be more missiles that turn up. For ground, you have a Damocles pod, which is a thermal pod, which you can see right here, and also a ton of different ordnance options that you can bring along. So the GBU-24 Paveway 3s turn up, then you have access to the SBU-64s. These are the hammers, which are the IR-guided IOGs and GNSSs. So let's go through what these missiles are, okay? These are pretty nuts, and they all are different versions of the same one. They just have different guidance systems that are attached to them. So you have the SPU-64s, these are the IR guided ones. You have the SPU-38s, which are just the standard satellite guided ones. And then you have the SPU-54s, which are the laser guided ones. Now, what you may have also noticed looking at the guidance systems is you have laser, IOG, and GNSS. So these are laser guided and also can be satellite guided, just like how the IR ones can be IR guided, but also satellite guided. This means that if you lose the IR lock on a vehicle as these things are going in, it will still guide itself to that position where you locked it onto. So this is a satellite bomb that can also track a target. But if it loses that target, it will still follow the position that it was tracking previously. So these basically are missiles that combine a lot of different search systems, meaning that the problems with each of the search systems are no longer a problem. And that means that they are going to be crazy. So you also have some standard paveways as well, the laser-guided bombs. These are the GBU-22s. You also have the 12s in the house, and then the 250-kilo dumb bombs, plus the GBU-16s. One thing I will also say is there's a lot of missiles and bombs and stuff in the files for stuff like the Rafale and other vehicles that aren't on the dev server. So don't be surprised when these vehicles get more munitions attached to them. If I was going to be honest, I don't think they're going to give the MICA IR to this thing. The IR would be insanely powerful. I think what they're going to do instead is they're going to give it access to Magic 2s and then probably some other stuff too around the place. So look forward to that with this vehicle. So yeah, the ground ordnance this thing has access to is great. It has a ton of countermeasures in the form of chaff, but the standard countermeasures it doesn't have a lot, but I would be incredibly surprised if that was kind of the standard amount of countermeasures it has. Usually if you have a look at stuff like the Gripen, you have a look at stuff like the the Eurofighter that's coming in, they have way more countermeasures than this. And since the Moor isn't even fully sorted with this thing, I'll be insanely surprised if this is how it ends up being, right? There's so many different things that are not ready yet on this vehicle, but one thing that is ready is at least the physical model, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. This is also the cockpit that it has. You can see the two sticks that are on the pilot, and it's just really cool to see. This cockpit is so modern, and it just looks futuristic compared to everything else that we have in the game. Here is the HMD that we talked about previously, that it has access to, and even just has a fully digital display in the front, which has all of your information, so you can get fully immersed in it as you play Sim or others. For the radar, you have a search PD, you have a TWS, a search, a PDHVN, the GMTI, and also the PD. Look at the... this also has something on the back of it there. Is that the Moor system? Is that like how it's represented? That's pretty cool. But yeah, so you have all of the standard modes that you would want for a vehicle like this. And I feel like in general, the only limiting factor is of course kind of like the search zone that's there for it isn't exactly great. But you can see here, that's how like the digital HUD works, which is pretty nuts. It's in your sights, it's ready to go. Like we've actually locked onto it with the AASM, so you could technically fire that in and it would follow it. It would follow it down. But I don't think it's fast enough to get there. So what are these things? These are the new type of bomb that's come in, but they're rocket assisted, and they go after targets like we talked about before. They're going to be super fun to use, and generally will be able to go for an incredibly long distance. And since this thing has the Damocles pod, it's going to be able to attack stuff from absolutely miles away. Now, I just obviously fired this just to kind of show you what it looks like, but yeah, it's one of those where you'll be able to use it in ground forces as well. Well, mainly ground forces. This vehicle also has access to night vision in the third person. In the pod, it also has access to the thermals, which will be really nice on it. So if you want to actually launch stuff at things, you can target them with the targeter, and then you can just fire in all of these things. And as I said, they are laser guided, and also they are guided by other means. So you can just point and click and point and click. You just got to make sure you're not going too fast. That's probably something I should have also sorted out. But yeah, these things will go miles. You just got to make sure they're all good to go. Very similar to the Grom and how the Grom was set up. You can see there the good old missile bombs going in. It does also have no air brake, which is very surprising for a vehicle like this. And the externals do carry quite a lot of fuel, so you'd have to worry about that too much. The camouflage on it is really beautiful, but it also doesn't have access to any other ones. And it does have the, is it the Lurks effect, which is really cool too. So these have flied in, they've used their rocket assistance, and they're going to hit the targets as they move in from 20 kilometers away. Isn't that really fun? So look forward to that as it comes in, because you won't really be able to do anything against it. Now, the other, obviously, option with this is, of course, the wonderful IR-guided nature of the MICAs. So there'll also be a factor, which you'll want to use while flying around in this thing. I don't know, I feel like this one might be more fun in general than the Eurofighter, just because it looks more beautiful. Like, I really think they did a good job on the looks. French stuff always looks fantastic, especially with the Dorito designs. With the flight models all over the place, we really can't tell what's going to be with these vehicles, but this one feels, at least from a physical model point of view and mechanics to do with its secondaries, it's in a much better place than others. Goddamn, crazy to see in War Thunder. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.